Andy Brothers, my friend, what is going on?
What is up, Nick? Just staying confined, doing my
Yeah,
part. Got my mask ready when I'm going outside.
yeah.
Uh, Working, man. This is an opportunity to work, man. So we're working hard. We got some awesome guests tonight. As always, like my dude Matt, man. I love hanging out with you. And some more. He brought some heavy hitters with him tonight as well. So I'm looking forward to tonight's show. It's going to be a great exposure on a subject that really doesn't get talked about enough. I mean, this is a
Mm,
bridge between the consumers, the insurance companies, the roofing contractors. So what you're onto and what you're working on is going to be vitally important as our industry just continues to change and continues to
mm.
evolve, and we continue to see challenges and trying to get ahead of some of the things. So really excited to get this one rocking and rolling, man. How you holding up, brother?
Oh, fantastic. About the same. I think I got a 10, 8, and 6-year-old coworker. So it's a lot of fun trying to figure that out. I've done my first two Zoom virtual adjuster meetings from afar from multiple states away. So that's been different. But
Right.
today, actually, I got Mike Lindhurst, my partner at C3 and the American Adjuster Association. So he's here with us too. And I think you're doing pretty well, aren't you?
Depends on what your definition of well is.
The world has changed.
Yeah, everything's okay. A little overwhelmed, but definitely still very productive, and consider ourselves very fortunate that we can continue getting some work done and moving things forward. So,
Well, it sounds like you guys have been rather busy. Is that the case?
oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was already a record year going into the first quarter, and then March kind of hit with COVID and everything. It's just been arguably even busier. So nothing's really slowed down, which has been nice, but it's also one of those things. It's like I'm stuck at home with wife and kids. Mike's the same way I'm sure y'all are, and it's like I'd kind of like to spend a little bit more time with the family, but we're getting work done, so it's good.
Yeah, it becomes a challenge, being able to clock in and clock out when you're 20 feet away from the action happening with two little kids, a wife, and bless her heart, taking care of those kids while I'm slaving away here in the office working, still 10
Uh-huh.
hours a day or more, and it's crazy how what I've noticed. And again, I've worked from home for a while now, off and on. So before Corona, I'd work from home maybe 3-4 days a week. The rest I'd be in the field or in the office. And now that it's 5 days dedicated in the office, clock in, clock out, I feel like my efficiency is just going through the roof. I mean,
Oh, for
we're
sure.
making a ton of changes and improvements to my training and our company, updating all our policies and really diving in all the systems with all of our businesses. So,
Well, it gives you
making the most of it, man.
it gives you the opportunity to kind of step back and rebuild that whole foundation before you take that next launch higher. So, I mean, we've been. I think this has been a blessing a little bit for us, just the timing of it, because a couple other things have happened, and just kind of getting re-caught up, make sure we're all in line, getting those processes and standards together, and we're actually moving a lot of things into virtual training now. So it's just a lot of, I mean, you either adapt or you die, right? So it's been a interesting few weeks, but something I'm kind of glad that happened.
Yeah, and before we dive really heavy into the content, I do want to take a moment to just, share my respects and gratitude for all the people that are, we're here working, right? We're just able to make adjustments and work, but there's a lot of people out there that are displaced, don't have jobs, or that are working twice as hard as we are and exposing themselves every single day to protect us and allow us to work. So I do want to take a moment to really kind of, show my respect and appreciation for all those men and women out there on the front lines, working so hard to fight this virus and to fight this pandemic. And my heart goes out to you, and my prayers go out every single night to be with you. And we are very grateful for all the hard work. And keep your head up for all those who are displaced. This too shall pass, and we will be able to get out of this. Hopefully in the near future.
Well, Mike, I'm gonna let you kind of take the spotlight here. Usually, what we kind of do is just go into the storytelling mode, right? So, kind of how you and Matt and how the romance started. How do what's your background in the space, and how did you guys get involved together in C3?
Well, I think we actually lost Matt on the podcast.
Yeah.
Where'd he go?
Yeah, we'll bring him back. I'm sure he'll figure out a way to get back in. But for now, I'll let you kind of take the limelight.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, Matt and I met roughly 10 years ago, and so Matt, I was just about to tell.
I could hear everything. I don't know what happened.
No, so I was going to tell our Craigslist story, as uncomfortable as I get.
Do it.
Let's go. For those of you listening on the podcast, it's more entertaining to check us out online, to check out the Facebook show, because with technology, there's always some hiccups. So make sure to check us out at 6 p.m. every Wednesday night at Mountain Time. All right, let's take it away. Let's get refocused and let's hear your story. How did you get involved? What's your background? How did you get involved with Matt? And what keeps you working with that guy?
Well, Matt and I are birds of a feather when it comes to getting stuff done, and I think when you have a business partner who works as hard as you do and is equally as effective and equally as smart and hardworking, it works, and has continued to work for a long time. We've got very different backgrounds, but our work ethic and our moral compass is always matched up, and we've been fortunate in that regard. So, but yeah, my background is actually in real estate investing. So I went to school, had a medical background, and I came from a medical and military family, hence the haircut. So. My dad was a Vietnam vet. He worked at the VA for a long time in surgery, and I actually went to nursing school. But then after I'd actually moved to Florida and had a real estate investment company and a management company, and bought and sold lots of properties and reconstructed a lot of properties. And when the crash in 2008 hit, I lost everything, literally everything, dozens and dozens of properties and all my wealth, and went through, a recession that looks eerily similar to what's happening right now. And that forced me to really dive into my financial education. And I also wanted to get into an industry that wasn't going to be affected by things like what's happening today. And, it was a tactical decision. But, the way that Matt and I met is I had some good construction chop. He was looking to rebuild a house to fix and flip it. And when I looked at it with my expertise and my previous experience with that, I advised him not to do so, and saved him from, financial failure. So
ruin, absolute ruin. This house was disgusting. But before that, I put a ad out on Craigslist at 6 o'clock at Sunday night, and Mike was the only person to answer that ad coming out on Monday to go take a look at this house. This place screamed hantavirus. The walls are torn out. The kitchen's gone. You've got mold in an outdoor pool. Disgusting place.
But let's not forget about all the mouse crap all over the place.
Yeah. That's the Honda.
Yeah, it was just a bad deal. At that point, I had bought and sold just dozens and dozens of houses, and I looked at it and went, "Man, please don't do this deal." And he didn't. So, anyways, another real good friend of mine who's in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I live now, is a real close friend of mine, and he actually introduced me to restoration, contracting, and roofing. And I felt like Charlotte wasn't going to be the best place for that because there wasn't a lot of hail, and there wasn't a lot of wind, and there wasn't a lot of. I felt like it was such a great opportunity to be in that business if you were in an area where there was lots and lots of hail and wind and fires and that kind of stuff. So, my wife to be at the time, well, we weren't engaged yet, but we were dating, and I had convinced her very quickly to move to Denver, and that's where Matt and I met. And we started the company roughly right before I got married, a couple months before I got married, and Matt, I don't even know if you and I were close enough at that point where I would have expected you to show up to my wedding in Sarasota, but you did.
I did.
You did. So, that was, 2011, 2012 is really when things started kind of hot and pop. And it got, we got fortunate, man. We had a lot of good storms, and we were able to take the incremental steps that were necessary to build the business up. I don't think we ever bit off more than we could chew. Started off with smaller deals and then just kind of naturally progressed into working on nothing but really, really large commercial projects. And I think you earn that right as you get into this business, and you learn to take those risks. And we're really lucky, man. We're in our 10th year of business now, 2020, 10th year in business. Can't believe. And, currently, we're working on more than $250 million in claims at any given time. So we're lucky, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Blessed, for sure.
So you guys, you started out C3 Group. You guys are public adjusters. You guys have a lot of success, right? I mean, I've seen the Inc. 5000, ton of growth, right? Great work with everything you guys have done. Now you guys are doing the American Adjuster Association. What is that? What's the vision for that?
It's a legislative play. There's organizations that are built to accomplish specific things, and nonprofits. We're still kind of getting our chops in the nonprofit world. There's a lot about it that I still don't understand, to be honest with you. Just management and rules and these types of things are just, that's why we pay attorneys to just whip me into shape every day. But there's a very specific void in the marketplace that we've noticed that is now being weaponized by a lot of people that will represent insurance company interests. There's a lot of defense attorneys that are really well known. We won't mention their names on this podcast, but they've come up with very creative ways to separate the homeowner and the contractor's interest and PA's interest or an attorney's interest that operate in this field. And it's interesting because there's been this big push for, public adjusters to try to push contractors away from claims, right? So you see the UPPA stuff that's being championed by all the APIA organizations, which I think initially the intention of that was pure from a qualification standpoint, but the way that the laws were worded has created this split in the industry now. And what felt like the solution to the problem is to try to make sure that if a carrier underpays a claim and they are forced to hire help, okay, whether that's a PA, here, an expert, an attorney, whatever it is, if there's an underpayment and they got to hire help to get to the rate payment, why should the carrier not have to pick up those costs if not for that initial underpayment? And as I thought about it and talked to a lot of people that I trust very much and used them as a sounding board and try to poke holes in this thing and try to get to the right, the thought leadership to get that solution in place, we knew that would solve a lot of different problems that, so roofers, if they want to hire a PA, a lot of times they want to avoid it because they see it as an expense, not something that's going to help them. So they try to have their own internal overhead to try to do that same job. Well, at the same time, if they do that same job, they're getting threatened with lawsuits. They're getting threatened with regulatory action and fines, and and it's just a mess. And at the end of the day, people need to have the ability to recover on the costs that they're forced to spend just to get to the right number, as opposed to having to eat that expense or someone having to eat that expense. And in fairness, we believe that carriers should have the ability to pay the claim right. But if they don't, and then they force, the insured to have to spend more money to get to the right number, why should they have to subsidize that expense? It doesn't make any sense. So,
and no insured should ever have to be out of pocket for more than their deductible in order to be properly indemnified. Like, they just shouldn't. And we see it all the time in this industry, where it's like the insureds just give up trying to fight on their claim because the proper experts and the engineers, consultants, PAs, appraisers, and all of that, it costs above and beyond what their deductible, and their deductible is rising every year anyway. So we won't stand for that anymore. For us, it's like, this is a nationwide organization that's not only focused on fee balancing, right? But like, there's a couple other pillars that we'll talk about here too. But those insured should be able to be reimbursed for all the reasonable costs that they incur to successfully prove their damage and the payments in excess of what the initial offer was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And guys, this is not, by the way, this is not some abstract concept. There are places all over the country, where I do most of my work in Florida, And there's laws that specifically talk about the ability to recover. I mean, there's a Supreme Court narrative from a case called Johnson versus Omega in Florida that talks specifically about the public policy need for cost reimbursement in insurance litigation, because they know that insurance companies have this massive amount of leverage and power, and they're the ones who are writing the contract. And if they're simply given the opportunity to say no and then exert more risk back on that insured, most people will walk away. So from a public policy standpoint, not only is this not new, it's just a more global ask, because there's a real market for PAs. There's a real market for engineers and experts and appraisers and umpires and all these other costs that are associated with having to, seek that additional recourse because they screw the claim up to begin with most of the time. So it's not okay for them to have the ability to just flat out stonewall you, and then you got to pick up that expense as a result. And that's the foundation. That's the real foundation of the organization. And what we're trying to do really at the end of the day is have a presence at each state house of significance. We need to have lobbyists that are there watching, not just as a defensive effort to try to curtail bad legislation, but also to try to push bills when there's an opportunity to do it that are good for public policy, that will help the situation that we're all in. And at the end of the day, we're really all in this together. Roofers, attorneys, PAs, consumers, everybody is in this problem, in this, it has this issue that we need to kind of huck and jive around to fix. We're all trying to get our claims settled to the point where we can wrap all this stuff in when there's no direct, statutory connection between being able to recover. So it's usually worked within a global settlement, and that's dangerous, man. I mean, it's an incomplete protection device. And when you get to work in places like Florida, where there's the real ability to recover for certain fees, then why isn't it like that in other places, man? I mean, like in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, if they say no, I mean, Mississippi, Louisiana, I mean, you can't get help. You flat out can't get help. So that's not fair. And there's a big chunk of the country that's in that position, and we intend on changing that.
Yeah, I love it. I think why we're using this platform, right? A big part of this is just the naivety of the consumer as well as the roofer. I mean, a lot of us, from a roofer's perspective, we just don't know what we don't know. Consumers they don't know what they don't know, but carriers do. So they're just using all these different tactics and strategies, in the big scheme of things to win. I mean, they're still posting record profits year in and year out, and just leaving this trail of people who are not indemnified, who are not taken care of when they've been paying for these policies for years and years and years. And I agree with you. It's not right. So I'm proud to be able to be an outlet to help kind of expose and bring some of this stuff out to light.
Well, and guys, I mean, it's about the narrative, right? I mean, you constantly see, and if the insurance company can successfully pull all of us apart, right? They pull the PA apart from the contractor apart from the policyholder via UPPA, which our industry had a lot to play with that. We'll talk about that too. But like the complaints are really driven towards what started the American Policyholder Association, the APA, with the engineer fraud. Them coming out and basically really pseudo giving coverage decisions when they're really only looking at half the damage, right? That's one issue. You've got licensing for adjusters. That's another issue. Like we were talking about before the show started, that's another pillar of what we're working.
Nope, we might have lost him there right here.
I think Kirk was right. Matt lives in a place called Larkspur in Colorado, and ain't got fiber optics out there, guys.
Well, let's carry on with what he was.
Yeah, go ahead. All right, finish what we got to say. You're about to have showtime right there. It's about to bring
it was good. It was going. I think it was 5 minutes. This thing's timing out on this app, so I don't know what's going on. It's going to happen at least 9 more times. But no, like what we were talking about before the show, Randy, like especially here in Colorado where you and I are. I mean, we're facing adjusters that are pushing the UPPA stuff on you and saying, well, you can't do that. It's the unlicensed practice of public adjusting. There's no insurance adjusting licensing in Colorado. They don't have a license either. And they're pushing it on you. I mean, we're trusting our insurance company and the adjusters that are adjusting our loss They're basically passing that on to an engineer or a building consultant. I just dealt with that in Claim in New Mexico today. But these guys don't have any license either. They're working on 5, 6, 7-figure cases, 8-figure cases with absolutely no licensing, no regulation on that side. And all of that's on us, right? So, I mean, that's another big part of this organization is putting the lobbying efforts to make sure that this is fair and balanced. It's not trying to separate all of us. It's like you guys have to be licensed as well. You guys have to be held to a higher standard, probably even more so than anybody on this side. You guys are months for a contract that you have to pay something out for, and you've got an unlicensed person determining what that is, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
good luck getting a license in Denver, huh?
Say it again.
Good luck getting a license in Denver.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to change. So we saw enough of these complaints, I think, within the industry where it's like Mike and I kind of took the stance. We got to change something. You know, it's not good right now the way that an insurance company and attorneys and stuff can just completely separate everything that a policyholder has right now to help them. There's not enough of our resources.
Yeah, guys, there's, just as an example, just the scalability of how we're able to build our businesses. I'll tell you, as a business owner who tries to hire people on a fairly regular basis, the amount of hoops we have to jump through that carriers don't. I mean, when you can take a company like JS Held that may have some engineers on staff, look, none of these guys are licensed insurance adjusters, so they don't have the regulatory oversight. Okay, and that just that alone, where a carrier is allowed to send somebody and rely on their report, and they don't have any real professional culpability for the product that they put out. That's terrible for public policy, guys. And the fact that we have a higher standard and we're the ones that are trying to right the ship on a contingency basis, nonetheless, well, we're assuming the risk on behalf of the policyholder. And, that lack of balance is apparent in so many places in this industry. I mean, the fact that managed repair programs that are putting roofers out of business can actually be in a position where they can waive deductibles, and that's illegal. It's illegal for the plaintiff guys, but not for the MRPs. I mean, that's actually worked in and so how is that fair? And the reality is that there's a lot of people that have developed trade organizations to further their self-interest as opposed to furthering the interest of consumers. And that's really, the major problem. I mean, you can look at the roofing trade organizations that are, one wants deductibles to be able to be absorbed, other ones don't. They're just trying to protect their marketplace. Same thing with NAPIA. NAPIA has tried to actively restrict competition by making a higher barrier to entry to be a public adjuster. Like in Florida, it's so hard to scale the company down there. It's very, very difficult because they have apprenticeship programs in place when the carriers don't have that same regulatory structure. How is that a thing? So look, there's so many examples that you could go on and on and on about these examples. And if you look at it, from that narrative of balance, not we're trying to get this huge advantage, we're just trying to get this to level out. And I think that will resonate with elected officials. It certainly will resonate with our clients, and from a public policy standpoint. And we've got a lot of good feedback. We've talked to people, legislators that will carry and sponsor these bills after a non-election year. We got a lot of interest already from a lot of different people in different states. Lots of good feedback from the trade organizations. It's a refreshing narrative to a lot of people. So we're excited to see. It's a long-term play, guys. This isn't going to go anywhere for 10 or 20 years. This is just going to keep going. Marketplace needed a different message, and it needed a message of unity from the PAs through all the other service providers that help consumers. So we're super excited about it. We really, really appreciate you guys giving us a platform to get this out to a lot of people.
So I want to real quick, we're going to take a moment. We're going to give a shout out to our sponsors here, but let's dive into those tiers. You kind of started elaborating and you touched on that a little bit. So let's kind of give, a full rundown on the tiers and those specifics that you guys are really focusing on within this new program. But first off, we definitely want to give a shout out to, This episode is sponsored by One Click Code. This fits right in line with what we're talking about. All over the entire country, there are different codes. Even in some jurisdictions like Colorado, we have 50 different licenses. All departments, all of these building departments have little nuances and little different code requirements. It can be really difficult to figure out the exact code that you need in order to get paid correctly from the insurance company. So One Click Code came up with an app that one of the newest apps to hit the market, and it's a quick, easy solution for you to input an address and figure out exactly what that code is. It's quick, it's accurate, and it's going to help you make more money when you're trying to settle claims and trying to get your job supplemented. So if you're frustrated with wasting time searching for codes and permits, only to be told that you don't have the right information or accurate proof, definitely check out One Click Code, because they're going to give you accurate roofing codes right from your phone that can be turned in to easy to read a proven report that you can use to get paid the first time from the insurance company. Check out oneclickcode.com.
Boom. Love it. What about our boys at Job Nimbus, man? What do you got to say about them, Randy?
Got to give a shout out. I'm going to lead on you guys. You guys know the Job Nimbus. I'm going to let you guys give the Job Nimbus shout out if you want to.
What do you guys think about
for it, man? I can do a justice on that.
So this time let's correlate this a little bit. We're all at home. The roofing companies that are not paperless, that there's unfortunately, I heard this and it blew my mind when we had them on the show recently. And there's a number of companies that still are paperless, or still that are doing paper files, that are still just marching a file down the hallway to the next job here, to the next part of the process. And if you really want to, not be, stuck and be set up to be able to handle the new age of conducting business, especially in the roofing space, you've got to anchor, and you've got to have a fantastic, really solid CRM system to anchor that on. You want to grow and you want to scale your business, you've got to have a CRM system. Everybody, that I work with, we all have a CRM. My company, we've built our entire infrastructure on a CRM, and the one we've had the best results is Job Nimbus. Every roofing company is different, right? We all have little different nuances, every different business model, and Matt can attest to this. How all the different roofers you work with, is any of them the same model? None of them.
Not even close.
Right? So why have a CRM system that puts you into a box where you have to adjust your model to fit a CRM system? Why not have a CRM system that can evolve and be customized and change with your ever-changing business model? That was simply why I chose Job Nimbus. 4 years later, we're running thousands of roofs through it, and it's seamless. And we continue to upgrade it, and they continue to add new integration softwares that they're plugging in with, and it's just making our business better and better and better. And we've gone completely paperless. So definitely check out jobnimbus.com. Right? Do we have a backslash, don't we, or like a promo code or something?
Yeah, we do. So it's actually info.jobnimbus.com/roofing-academy. Boom.
Say that 10 times fast. Was it?
Yeah, right.
Well,
Say that again. And honestly, I mean, when I attended the roofing academy deal that you did a couple months ago, Randy, taking us through that system, and you guys with Elite taking us through the back end of everything, like how you operate. My goodness, you guys are set up well, and it's like the amount of information in that system too. I couldn't believe what it could do. So it's I mean, you need processes, you need optics, you need to be able to track what's going on, the pipelines and all of that, AR, billing, all sorts of different stuff. And it was really neat seeing how you guys put the Job Nimbus together on with Elite.
Did you set that up, Randy? Did you set that up? Or
that's, well, my team. And we got a special guest, the brains behind that operation, coming in on our 100th episode next week. So make sure to tune in for that. But real quick, before we dive back into it, we've been working really hard in this downtime to really dive in and make our virtual training platform, as well as our coaching, the best in the market. And we're ready. We've spent 2 years perfecting, working with roofers, working with our own business models, and we're ready to hit the market running with the most sophisticated, detailed, implementable program virtually, as well as coaching in the market. One of the biggest challenges a lot of roofing companies are facing right now is they had to stop door knocking. Okay, most companies built their whole infrastructure on door knocking. What happens if overnight you can't door knock? How do you build a marketing strategy to get a ton of leads, especially in a hell environment, without door knocking? If you want to learn more about that, we built our entire system on that. Thousands of leads within a month of a storm without knocking doors. If you want to learn more about that, check out our marketing platform and our marketing virtual training that we have, as well as the coaching that we can provide to help you get through these tough times. So check us out at theroofingacademy.com. You can book a call with me. You can just jump onto one of our programs and check out what we're all about.
Boom. Love it. Well, before we dive into the meat of it, I do want to go into one comment here because it looked like Mike had his son join us for a second here. And Eric said, finally, a good-looking face. Eric Smith, finally a good-looking face.
Eric would say that.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah, right. So, Randy, what do you want to dive into? Kind of like just the memberships and stuff that's going on.
You mentioned these tiers and some of the things that you poked. I know we've kind of talked about a lot of things already, but it's the full rundown. I'm a roofing contractor, and I want to help support what you guys are doing. What's the best way for me to do that, and what am I actually, in a Reader's Digest version? What am I doing to be able to support this organization that you guys are doing?
Well, Mike, let me start, and then you can jump in here. I mean, so really, again, the three pillars of what we're doing is the fee balancing, working to make sure that the insurance company adjusters are also licensed, that they're held accountable for what's going on, and then also we're tackling on the UPPA side of things too, right? It's constantly thrown in your face by the insurance company side, the PA side, attorneys, and UPPA just needs to be better defined.
I'm a new contractor. Help me. Let's take a moment. A lot of us know, but let's pretend that we definitely have a lot of new contractors. A lot of people maybe into this industry who don't even understand what exactly the UPPA is, or what that leverage is that they're throwing at us. So go ahead and give us some definition of more what that means and what they're actually doing with that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so UPPA is the unauthorized practice of public adjusting. It's really a carve out of the unauthorized practice of law that allows us to be able to negotiate with insurance companies and all of that. And Mike will be able to fill in a lot more of this stuff too here, but really the insurance companies are saying that if you negotiate with us at all as a contractor, you're guilty of UPPA. And what that's done is basically taking you as the frontline resource for the average homeowner and taking you completely out of the way. So if there's an issue with scope and price or coverage, or they say this isn't hail and you say it is, all they got to do is throw out this UPPA acronym and it's supposed to scare you off. So, Mike, you got anything to pitch there? And then obviously, if you're a new contractor, you're going to hear that term a lot. And it's something that all the veteran contractors out there, they're belly aching at night. These guys are dreaming about UPPA and the worry that causes them of the threat of doing this act that isn't really that well defined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So speaking of definitions, basically, if you're doing anything to affect the settlement of a claim, you are practicing public adjusting without a license. That's the way it's currently defined. I'm being a little oversimplified there, but when you read the law of what constitutes a PA, basically anything affecting the settlement of a claim can turn into a crime. Okay, not just a civil problem, not just a regulatory problem, but a criminal problem in a lot of states. So if you're operating under the best intentions and you've got an aligned interest with your customer as a roofer, and you knock the door and you say, I want to meet with the adjuster on site so I can be an expert to point out damage or to try to negotiate a price or to try to do anything to affect the settlement of that claim, you're potentially in trouble. And in Florida, in the most absurd fashion possible, that is a felony, guys. You can lose your ability to vote for a presidential election, okay, as a result of just merely being there and saying, I need to help this customer point this damage out or negotiate a price with their insurance company. And this is what I go back to when I think about this and why it's so absurd, because think about the way that medical offices work. Think about the way that car shops work. This is still an insurable event. And, every auto body shop has somebody in there that negotiates the way that cars are put back together for collision.
My uncle does that.
Yeah. And they use systems that are a lot like Xactimate, by the way. And with medical, you have medical billers. There's no such thing as public adjusters in medical and in auto. It's just the way that it works, that there's some kind of an open negotiation and some kind of a third party cost basis and agreed way of doing business. And, look, at the end of the day, public adjusters, when the licensing came up, I think they wanted to find a way to legitimize what their license stood for. And they wanted to make a separation between acting as a fiduciary on behalf of someone else, okay, as opposed to potentially having a conflicting interest like a contractor can have with a homeowner. Sometimes it's not an aligned interest. Sometimes they just want the highest margin possible, and that can create conflicts of interest. Where public adjusters and attorneys who operate on a contingency basis, we share that same aligned interest with the insured. So, look, there's some validity to having public adjuster laws, but they're too heavy-handed and they're very, very widely. It's a global definition that, frankly, it could be viewed as unconstitutional. If you read the way that it's laid out and you see the effect that it has a negative effect now on public policy. Because think about this. We ended up in a situation recently, and they continue to happen, where just the term of a contractor's agreement, okay, that says we're a claim specialist, and they may have that competency, and they're going to do the work for a contingency fee based on whatever they agree to with the insurance company, and there has to be an agreement or a meeting of the minds. Well, they're attacking just those agreements. So we've had situations where cases have gone a year and a half, and there's been 3-party appraisal awards that have been signed, or even judgments. And then they come back and say, hey, the original agreement that you signed constitutes the unauthorized practice of public adjusting. And guess what happens next? They burn the whole thing down and ask for all of the money back on a counterclaim. So it's that serious.
$2.2 million worth of money.
Gone. Yeah. So these
Wow.
people, these people are dragged through the mud by the carrier screwing it up, and then their own appraiser signs off on an award that's way higher than what initially was calculated, and they go back to not really the facts of the case, but just back to a poorly worded contract and say this contract constitutes a crime. Therefore, the rest of the case is null and void. That's the danger. And let me tell you guys, do I think that was the intention of NAPIA, of TAPIA, of FAPIA, of these organizations who have championed furthering the public adjusting profession? Do I believe that was their intention? No, but that's been the result. And they should. I say it in hindsight. Maybe they should have known better. But every law, whether it be case law or statute, there's failures contained within those laws. And sometimes the words just aren't right. And right now, they're bad laws because they're badly worded. And again, it creates a problem where it's against public policy. So do we want to get rid of public adjusting licensing? Of course not. We want there to be competency in this industry as the platform. We want that competency, and we want to raise that floor of competency. And that's what I think C3 has been able to do for the whole community. I think that's why we're held in a pretty good regard with the contracting community, because we'll share tons of information, but you can't get away from the exposure that's been put in there and been weaponized by the defense. And guys, it's a real risk. This is your largest, if you're a contractor listening to this, your largest enterprise risk right now is the structure of your agreements. It doesn't matter what you do, okay? It's the structure of your agreements. It's the way that you present yourself to the public. And if you're presenting yourself in a way that can be conflated to acting as a PA without a license, man, I'll tell you, you can lose a ton of money. There's contractors, and if you pay attention to the industry and read cases, and if you have a general counsel that's helping you structure your agreements, you'll maybe be familiar with the Lon Smith case, where they literally allowed them to reopen and, turn into a class action lawsuit on hundreds and hundreds of previous clients, not just the one that was in question.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this could shut down your company just based on the structure of your agreements. And that's serious.
Yeah, and in Colorado, obviously, I can speak to Colorado. I mean, we spend a lot of time and energy with our, I got actually another, one of our partners at Furtado Law. They, they have general counsel that they work with. I mean, they specialize kind of supporting some of the stuff you guys are doing, but they also have general counsel and people that took a deep dive with the law as well as our contract, and they reworded everything. We spent a lot of time, energy, and money to get this thing 3-page bulletproof, really, really solid contract. In our state, we are allowed to have an assignment of benefit, but it's got to be worded properly, and all this stuff has to be really dialed in and worded properly to cover yourself. And after those cases, I was exposed to them. Like, wow, we have a lot of exposure here because we're doing thousands of roofs. We've done over 13,000 roofs as a company, and for that to even think about that makes me like lose sleep. So for those of you local contractors, you can reach out to me. I do have that contact. Our Roofing Academy members automatically get that contract that we spent a lot of time. But I would highly, highly advise you. I would second what they're saying is you need to get with your local attorney and general counsel and make sure that your contract is not putting you in harm's way and not setting you up for major issues down the road.
Yeah, let me touch on that a little bit. So I want to build on that because as a business owner and as somebody who has had to feel these types of enterprise risks before, I just want to tell you guys this, working with a first party law firm to have contracts structured is dangerous because it can create some conflicts, first of all. So I'd be really careful about that. General counsel, business counsel is the right way to go. If you have a business counsel who understands contract structure and they do the right research, not just in your state, okay, but in regions, okay, this stuff carries over from other states. You'll see stuff that trickles into New Mexico from Texas. You'll see stuff that goes from Iowa to Colorado. And the way that insurance companies plead these cases, they pull from other places. So if you have a general counsel that drafts your agreement, they are covered by their own malpractice insurance. So if they format your agreement and you have problems with that agreement, then you will also be covered by their malpractice insurance should you have a problem if they err in the law. So, that's just something where, look, I've worked for roofing companies. I had a small roofing company. And a lot of times you don't want to take on that expense of having to pay high-level accountants or high-level attorneys, and you try to use somebody else's agreement. And if they use that agreement, then maybe, you're assuming that yours is going to be safe if you use similar terms. Nothing is further from the truth. Okay. Every attorney has different views of things. They do either a lot of research or no research, or they might assume things. They're just regular people, guys, but they have a responsibility not to err in their practice of law. So you got to make very, very certain that they have some of the information. Every time I talk to a roofing referral source of mine, I just did this recently in Florida with a referral source we work with a lot. The first two meetings we had was all about, look, get me on the phone with your business counsel and let me talk to them about the cases that I'm aware of. Let's pick apart the new statute, the new assignment of benefits statute down there. Let's make sure that there's no violation. And if your attorney signs off on it, that you should be safe and you have a problem with it later, well, they got coverage for that. Put that line of protection, ensure through your counsel, okay, that they're going to give you that advice and they're going to sign off on that agreement. Because guys, this is a moving target. You may think that your agreements are fine right now, and a year from now, it may not be the case. So this is all being driven. It's a.
I gotta say, this is probably some of the best advice we've ever had on this show. I know it's it's not the most glamorous. It's not, this isn't a fun topic. This is not something we're all like, yeah, grab the popcorn. Let's talk about, contracts and appraisals and what the insurance companies are doing to ruin our lives. No, but this is such important things that we all need to rally around. We all need to be aware of and make sure to take the proper, steps to ensure that we're stepping our game up and our professional level as contractors to do business the right way, to cover ourselves, to protect our families, and ultimately raise the bar for our side of the industry.
Well, and guys, from somebody who I trust a lot, that I won't bring up his name because I don't know who's watching this, but famous words, the cost of compliance. Okay, the cost of risk management and compliance is a hell of a lot lower than the cost of the tuition for screwing it up. Okay, so the only reason that I bring this up and I'm so emphatic about this is because we have lost huge money. Okay, and what is that? That's tuition.
Yeah, the price of admission.
We paid a lot.
Yeah. So you gotta be careful, guys. I mean, get the right advice. Hire somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about. And and frankly, there's not many of them. There's not that many people in this space. So I can give people suggestions if they want to email me about how to handle this. There are some very competent attorneys. A lot of them are in Florida and Texas because that's a hotbed for a lot of these issues. But if you want to email me, it's mike@c3adjusters.com. I'd be more than happy to share some resources. No benefit to me, man. I just want to see you guys get hammered on this issue. And it's such a burning red hot ember right now. You got to be really careful. So,
Yeah.
Love it. Thanks for that, man. Thanks for putting yourself out there like that, for sure.
I'm posting your email too to the comments as well.
So we went off on that was a great rabbit trail, right? With a lot of great education there. So let's reel it back in as we start to wind the podcast down here. And what other topics, what are the kind of points you really want to kind of emphasize here, Matt, that you were kind of elaborating on before?
Yeah, so one thing real quick, just kind of finish off the UPPA topic, is the problem is with the UPPA laws is most public adjusters aren't focused on the commercial plan or on the residential plan. So these laws really did a good job of separating or having the insurance company separate the contractor from the policyholder. And for us, I mean, I think that we believe that nothing should infringe on a policyholder's right to authorize a contractor to work with them to determine cause of loss, scope of damage, and the cost of repair. I mean, a contractor should be able to come in and say, hail fell from the sky, hit the roof, there's damage, and this is the cost to replace it. That's not UPPA. It's just not. So, I think for us, one of the things that Mike and I want to get out there is this is not just a PA organization. It's for anybody that has these issues, whether it's a policyholder, a contractor that's constantly complaining about these issues, or a PA. We want to be an organization that is not just for PAs. This organization is open to anybody that services the policyholder. We're all on that side. So let's band together. Let's put our money where our mouth is. And instead of just complain about some of these issues, let's go do something about it. These issues take money, legislation efforts and putting laws together. It takes a lot of money, but at the end of the day, we all have these strong beliefs about protecting a policyholder. The insurance company is doing a really, really good job of separating all of us. So, I mean, that's really for me. I think the most important thing that we can put out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. You guys are, it's a membership program. Is that correct? It's like, is it an annual dues, or how does that work? And I understand that the money is being, pooled together and going towards legislation, lobbyists, stuff like that, correct?
Yeah, we're not making any money on this. So if you go to AmericanAdjusterAssociation.org /membership, you'll see all the membership options that we have. We've got individual memberships that are $500 a year. We've got an associate membership that you can actually pay monthly as well. It's $1,000 a year. If you want a state board advisor position, that puts you in a leadership role in the given state that you signed up for, it's $5,000 a year. That can also be broken down monthly. And if you want to be a national board advisor with us, kind of rolling out the strategies nationwide to multiple states, that's $10,000 a year, and that can also be broken down monthly. So Mike's got a fun little thing that he talks about as far as, it's a cup of coffee, guy, and it's an electric bill. It's this stuff is not a whole lot to be able to protect our industry. And if we're not protecting the policyholder, insurance gets really bad. We're already seeing issues with ACV policies and depreciation issues and deductibles. And I mean, this might not be an industry in 10 years unless we all stand up and do something about it and fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, guys, I wanted to emphasize that is that how much money do you spend every year educating yourselves to further your competency in your craft? Okay. I will spend as much money as I can on education and as much time as I can. But when it comes to protecting the industry, just understand that these guys that we're dealing against have got pockets that are Illuminati deep. Okay. They have got people at the state house all the time. And if you don't have somebody there to have a different narrative to talk to these people, it's really effective. So you can have lobbyists that are hanging out at the state house for 30 to 50,000 a year. I mean, it's not that much money at the end of the day. And if you're a single person and you want to put $1,000 a year into this thing in your state to be able to fund that effort, yeah, I mean, on a monthly basis, $83 a month, I guarantee that that's probably less than half of your stinking cell phone bill. And if you're not willing to put that up to try to protect your industry, you have no room to complain when the thing disappears on you, because these people act very strategically, tactically. They have long-term relationships. If you're backslapping buddies with the people that are making the policies, and you want to slide in an amendment to a bill and give them some incentive to sign off on a statute, guys, it's going to happen. I mean, it's just the way the politics works. You have to fight it. And, that's what was very apparent to me for the last several years before we had the idea of starting this thing up, because, if you don't have a seat at the table, I mean, you're going to get run over. Count on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I have firsthand, I'll speak from a roofer's perspective, that I've always been involved in the bigger picture, as a roofing owner, as a industry coach, as someone who's dedicated to protecting and passionate about this industry above and beyond just my own interest, on a local level. Back in 2011, there was 11 and 12 locally. The insurance carriers came to the legislation with a bill that would have crippled our ability to work. Mm-hmm. And most roofers didn't even know what was going on. A handful of us came together, pulled our money together, and we had guys down at the Capitol working hard. We hired a lobbyist. We did everything we could just on a local level to get that, for local, you guys obviously know SB 38 is the law that we got it amended and got it adjusted. But little do people know, there's 4,000 roofers in our market or more that have no clue that happened. Okay, well, we need to wisen up. We need to take ownership of the bigger stuff that's going on here in the political side of our business. This isn't about just knocking doors and making money. This is about protecting our livelihood and creating a legacy for our families. And in order to do that, we need to step up as contractors and as industry, people, industry leaders, and fight back and do what we can to protect ourselves.
Well, yeah, let me make the point too that it doesn't take that many people to spend their time down at the State House, because, guys, I don't know if you've had that experience. I mean, it sounds like you were down at the Hill during 038, which I was too, more as an observer than anything at the time, because I didn't know, my butt from a hole in the wall as far as the legislative process.
I had people. I was like, same thing. I was we just put money forth and did what we could to have our people. One guy who's been on the show, Kyle Larson, he was a major influencer there. He was there. Really, give him a shout out. He's working with Furtado now, and they're Furtado Law Solutions. Give them a little shout out. And they worked really hard to really protect our whole local roofing industry. So he gets a lot of credit as to what happened down there.
Yeah, Kyle's somebody I know very well. Kyle and I, we actually talked in Phoenix about this, and several times since then. I think that if he hasn't joined AAA yet, he's going to. He's an influencer, and you know what? He spent and sacrificed a lot of time, and guys, that's really what it takes. I mean, you're either going to go down there and develop the relationships with these people that are policymakers, which you can do without really stroking huge checks, or you hire a lobbyist that has the pre-existing relationships to have that consistent presence. Because what happened in 038 is that is a very reactive thing where you're going, holy cow, there's this train coming down the track, and now we got to mobilize, and we got to get a lobbyist, and we got to get down there, and you're trying to kill something or amend something. And the reality is this: you want to be proactive. You want to be having the conversations before the legislative cycles hit, so the narrative is out there. and that you have the ability to go to the fundraisers and do the stuff. And but look, just call your local reps and go spend time with them when they're not in session. I mean, these are just people that are elected officials that represent you, by the way. So these are state people. This is not like you're going to the federal Congress or federal Senate trying to get a cup. I mean, look, you can invite these people out for coffee. You can sit with them and talk to them. They represent you in your district. Go talk to them. Go talk to them. Get them. Make sure that they're, you have something there where there's somebody you can talk to and explain the issues to them.
Well, in AAA, I mean, we've already got a lobbyist on staff. We're already working on some language here in Colorado. We're already doing more. Mike is killing it up in Illinois and Wisconsin right now. But David Miller, who's another one of our national board advisors. Scott Green's working with us up there as well. So we're doing stuff all over the country. We're already active and working to push those 3 pillars through. We just need some help, guys. Get on board, jump in with us, get your hands dirty.
All right, so we're gonna wrap up here. We appreciate you guys' time, and for all of you watching, we had a great viewership the whole time. This is gonna go. There's a lot of people going to be listening to this later in the podcast and viewing this later, as they're going to bed or whatever they're doing, in their quarantine phases. How do we get a hold of you? One, thank you guys for joining us, and one more time, let's put your information out there. How do we get a hold of you? How do we get involved, and how do we support this cause?
Yeah, so go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to say, you could email us at American Adjuster Association at gmail.com. Matt and I both can get access to that. You can email us at either Mike and or Matt at c3adjusters.com. I'm happy to take phone calls. My phone number is 720-626-2506. Matt's is 720-212-9410.
Cool.
I know. I remember yours.
He memorized it.
Wow,
that's pretty good.
I thought I was
nowadays.
the only person that had my business partner's number memorized.
I don't have
and then obviously
my
we've got AmericanAdjusterAssociation.org is where you can find out more information about our initiatives, what we're doing, and membership.
Awesome. It's posted in the link. It'll be sent out on the email that we blast out to everybody, and hopefully you guys will send it out as well. Again, thank you so much for the support. Thank you for our sponsors. If you do like this podcast, you've enjoyed your time here, make sure to like our page, hit the subscribe button on whatever podcasting platform you're on, and big shout out to our amazing hosts, from good old Suma Media, crushing it, producing these podcasts and putting all this stuff out for us. 1 episode to go before we hit the 100 episode mark. So make sure to tune in next week, and we're going to have a lot of fun. There's probably going to be a lot of roasting of Randy as we reflect on the past 10 years and the past 100 episodes that we've done at the Start Build Grow Show.
Count me in. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
God bless. Take care.
Thanks for having us, guys.